Welcome to Smoking Eagles Ride Shop, and in today's video, we're going to be working on my old blue van. Now, if you don't know about this van, I inherited it from my grandfather. It was in really rough shape, and we've been slowly bringing her back to life. This thing is a ton of fun to drive. I love taking it to van events, and I stole a couple of interior pieces out of the parts van that I have out in the yard. I found on Marketplace a few years ago, and I'm still harvesting parts. So what are we doing today? Well, we're going to be putting side panels in this van. Now, it's a shorty van. The other van is a club wagon, so it has windows on the driver's side of the van, so the panels aren't going to just bolt right in. But I think we can make it work. Now, I've got all these brackets and braces and everything out of the other van. There's some more over here. More of this stuff. These are like cardboard pieces that go in the back corners and hide the taillights. I think we're going to remake these out of sheet metal and then just paint them black or blue. And then they will, you know, last a little longer. Not that these didn't last long enough. So here are the panels that I scored out of the parts van. So this is the passenger side back panel. This is the cutout here for the spare tire. And as you can see, these panels are in really good shape. Now, they're moldy and dirty, but they're going to clean up really nice. Now, it's a club wagon, so it's a lot longer than my van. So the driver's side actually has two panels, which is great for us. And again, this one is pretty filthy, but what I think is cool about this one is it has an ashtray. This still functions. It had an armrest right here. We're not going to put an armrest on ours because we're not going to have a seat in the van, but we'll use those holes for something. I don't know what, maybe a cup holder or something, or maybe we'll have to cut this and alter it and that won't even be an issue. I don't know, but we'll figure something out there. USB ports. I mean, there's so many options nowadays. Somebody drilled a hole through the side of the van and put a wire into this with a fuse. And then they had just a regular wire coming through here with like a plug-in on it. That's pretty hillbilly, but we do have a generator plug on the blue van. So if this hole is going to be in our panel anywhere, I'm going to remove this and I'm going to put in an actual plug-in so that when the generator's running, we can run a little space heater or something. Don't know what to do about that hole, but we may not need it. Again, don't know the whole process. The rest of this panel is going to clean up really, really nice. And then here is our last panel. And again, same shape, condition as all the others. So we've got a lot of really good panels here to make this work. Now, I'm going to clean these all up as best I can. And then we'll go over to the van and we'll see, kind of make a game plan. Because we got to have enough real estate to go down the driver's side and cover the passenger side. Luckily, our van is a shorty van, so we're going to have extra materials here. And here we are. Look at that, just a little bit of purple power and a non-scratch scour pad. And yeah, it's still a little discolored where that spare tire was, but hey, these panels turned out really, really good, guys. And of course, I got some before and after photos here for you. Wow, just so much better. So let's get these panels over in the van and see exactly how we can make these fit where we need them to fit and what alterations we're going to have to do to these panels, because I'm sure we're going to have to trim and cut and all kinds of stuff. I got the panels over here, and this is how they went in the white van. So a few things here. The gas fill is notched out on the white van back here because the gas tank on a full-size van is in the back. On the shorty vans, it's up there, so that's going to have to be addressed at some point. They have their electrical outlet cut out there. There's a little hole there. You can see up there where our armrest was, but as you can see, we've got plenty of panel. They're all essentially just too big. This doesn't line up with the spare tire thing on this van because, again, this is a shorty van. It's a lot shorter. Look how much shorter it is there and here. I've got some trim pieces. I've got more trim pieces over there I showed you guys earlier, and these are the corner pieces. We're going to use these to start with, and then I'm hoping to make these out of sheet metal later. But the first thing that I've really kind of noticed is I think what I'm going to do, because I don't want to have this big hole here. Now I need to cut this panel off to make it short enough, but I'm still going to have this giant hole that I can't really patch. But watch this. Check it out. See what I did there? I switched the driver's side panel with the passenger side panel, and now look, it's too long here, and the gas fill hangs out over there and is all going to have to be cut off. The only thing I'll have to do to this panel to make it fit is cut the ends off and figure out where to knock the hole in it for the spare tire mount to mount the spare tire on this side. Now over here on this side, we get a bonus too. We don't have the big hole cut here. And over here on this side, we'll have to cut the fuel door out, which we know the exact size that it needs to be because we can just copy this side over here. And that should also eliminate that electrical outlet that they cut out down there on the floor. And we have the spare tire hole up here. I'm probably just going to cut that out to be the size of an outlet and move the outlet up above that trim, or it'll just be an outlet right there for our generator because we have a generator plug on the back of the van for when we go camping. We can run a little space heater if it gets chilly in here. And then we'll just cut either this panel down and that panel down, whichever way works best to do the fuel door and make that look as good as we can. Now we've got a bunch of support stuff, so I'm going to start on the passenger side over here because I think we will learn the most and we'll get it done the fastest. Progress, essentially, looks-wise, starting over here. Now, let me remove this panel and I'll show you kind of how this works. Behind the panels in the white van had this support piece here, this support piece here, a support piece over here. There's actually a support piece that's supposed to go all the way across here, but I can't just stick it up there, so just take my word for it. And then there is a piece that goes right here, and that's where this tucks into this edge right here, and that puts this corner piece in. Boom, just like that. And then this corner piece tucks in here, screws go through this piece, and this piece hides the seam between this piece of blue cardboard and your actual panel there, where they overlap or butt up against each other. Now the other van is a lot longer, so this spare tire support or whatever it is you want to call it there doesn't run into this piece here on the other van for the fender well, and it doesn't run into that because this van is so much shorter. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of cutting and fabricating, and I'm gonna work from this corner and go this way because I want to make sure that I get this in the proper spot, and I want to make sure that I get this piece that holds it in the proper spot, because once we have those in the right spot and looking good, that'll tell us exactly where to mount this piece. And then we'll just work our way that way and make our supports. And then we'll get our panel up here, trim our panel down, and then we'll be able to cut this little rectangle out of here. And the cool thing about that is we actually have the perfect template for it right there. So I know exactly how high it needs to be and all that fun stuff, because this is the same height in both vans, just in a different location this way. Gonna be pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and the van is gonna look a lot better just having these half panels in here. And then we'll work on shag carpet at a later date. Believe me, that it's gonna be a lot of work to get the interior of this van where I want it to be, but man, is it gonna be worth it when it's done. You guys are gonna be like, it's like the Taj Mahal of rotted out vans. Anyway, I'm gonna get to working on this, and I'll keep you guys updated on the progress. All right, so it's time to trim down our first panel, and the weather is absolutely perfect for this. It's like 75 and sunny, so I got our panel out here in the sun just to try and heat up this old vinyl, make it a little more pliable for us. Now, I measured from the fender well. We need to cut this off at 9 inches. I used a square. I ripped a straight line on it, and we are good to go there. So now that we know where we want to cut this off, we could just cut that with a razor blade and be fine, because there is a piece of trim that's going to cover that. But we're not going to do it like that. We're going to do it just like the factory, because on this end we aren't going to have a piece of trim to cover it up. So we need to make it look really nice and look just like it did from the factory. So we're going to learn how pliable this vinyl is, how it's going to react, whether we need to get a heat gun to loosen it up a little bit, spray glue, things like that. It's kind of trial and error. You're kind of just going at it and trying to figure out exactly how to recreate what they've done. Now, it's a pretty simple process. They've just got some staples here, some spray glue, there's a little foam, and then the vinyl with whatever decorative stuff they wanted on there. So what we're going to do is we're going to start removing all these staples back so that we have this extra material. We'll separate it, maybe fold it back or hang it off the edge of the table here so that we're not going to cut through our vinyl. And then we're going to cut this cardboard off so that we can fold it over and make it exactly the way we want it to. Then we'll take it, we'll set it in the van, and then we can mark and figure out where to cut off the front piece. So first thing I'm going to do is just take a couple of little screwdrivers and start pulling these staples out little at a time. Be careful not to screw anything up or drop them in my driveway so that I get flat tires, because that's no fun. And as you can see, they're just popping right out like that. Get one side popped up, and then I can come back with my needle nose pliers and work the staples out the rest of the way. And we got some new dogs around the old shop here. You guys want to meet the new dogs? Come here, Hulk. Hulk, come here. Hey, buddy. Ugh. Say hi to all our YouTubers. Hey, what's up, buddies? This is Hulk. We just adopted him. Unfortunately, his family couldn't take care of him anymore, so we got him chilling with us. Super cool. He's what you call a dorky, because, you know, he lives with us. And Angel, wherever she went, Angel, come here. You want to say hi to everybody? Come here. This is Angel. Say hi. Hi, people. This is actually his sister. And she's not very smart, but she looks just like Alf. Anyway, guys, try not to trip over these little buddies while they're out here wandering around with me. We got little collars on them so they can learn where the property is, because we don't want them to get eaten. We got like eagles and stuff around here because, you know, this is America. Where you at, Hulk? Anyway, so let's continue on our little project here and get these staples out of here. Put them somewhere where they don't get on the ground, because I don't need no flat tires. Or stuck in a paw somewhere. That would not be cool. There we go. Alright, so we got all our staples off of there. And I'm going to see if I can't get this to just start pulling up off of here nice and easy. Looks like they had their some sort of spray glue, industrial spray glue. We happen to have a bottle of that. It's almost like it's just rubber cement. Almost acts just like rubber cement. What's up, Angel? Now, another benefit to kind of deconstructing what they've done here is you can learn exactly how they did it. So, like, to do these corners, they just pulled them out, folded them over, and then snipped that edge just like that. So that's exactly how we're going to do it when we redo our edges. Now, I'm just taking this razor blade, and where their glue is still kind of stuck, I'm just kind of cutting that glue nice and easily to get the little fingers of glue off of there, so that we can start to separate this off the front side. Right like that. And now I've got that off of there, just like that. Now I'm going to slide the edge of this over here. Need a chair. Oh, look, a wheel. Perfect. Till I fall. Okay, we'll start working this down off of here slowly. Don't want to screw this vinyl up if we can avoid it. Now we've got it taken off to here. It's kind of popping off right here like I want it to. Our foam's stuck right there. It doesn't look like the other side's glued. It's just the edge of the foam here is kind of stuck from the glue for the edges. So I'm going to go right down along here. Nice and careful. Just kind of separate it right like that until it wants to kind of come two pieces again. And we got a piece of chrome right here. Goes down the center. So this is kind of stiff right here. Work this down along here. All right, so the camera got a little hot. Anyway, I flipped it over, just like I said. I've got just a straight edge on here. I happen to have a piece of aluminum angle here and a couple of vice grips to clamp it on our line. And I just went right down there with our razor blade, scored it, bent it over just a little bit. And now I'm just gonna keep going down until I get this cut off, and then we'll fold our vinyl back over. All right, so just like I had hoped, the heat is really helping us loosen up this vinyl. It even gave me a chance to kind of fix some of the deformity in this cardboard here from the heat, and just having that unglued, I can kind of work those bends out of there where it's just kind of over time. Now, if you notice here where they glued this edge around, they don't have any foam backing. So I'm going to work my way down and just slowly start removing this foam backing. And then I'll take a pair of scissors and I'll trim that off. And I'm going to save this for later because you never know where we might need this for a patch or somewhere where the foam's damaged. You just never know. You're better off to just save it, have it and not need it than need it and not have it. You go just ripping that off of there and throwing it in the corner, and you're going to regret that. So I'm going to keep working along with this. Bunch extra here. So one thing I did is I wanted to see how this was going to react if I try to remove it, and how to cut it without damaging our other material here. It's super hot out here. This thing's been sitting in the sun, so everything is nice and pliable. I've got a super sharp brand new razor blade here. I put a little pressure on it and I just started slowly slicing it very, very carefully down, and I can get that off of there, and then I can peel this off and yeah, hopefully not damage too much underneath it, because we are going to see just a little bit of that. I don't know how far to trim this back for our trim piece to go down on here. So that's our next thing. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to cut off our extra to kind of a manageable length and toss the panel in the van and see if we can't figure out where we need to cut these off so we can do them out here in the sun and yeah, make it look as good as we can. So I've got our panel in here and everything's kind of sitting where it's going to be. That's right up against the fender well there. And what we need to figure out is where to cut this chrome off, because we can't have that big bump there when we put our trim on like this, because it just won't look right like that. So our chrome will be cut off just a little bit. So I'm going to shove all this back to kind of where it goes. I know where the bottom bracket is down here. You can see the little screw sticking out, and we've got our holes in this and this. So I'll line all that stuff up, shove it all over. I'll take my razor blade and I will just score this chrome just ever so slightly so that when I get it back out there, I know where to cut that chrome off. All right, so if you look real close, you can see where I scored that chrome there and right there. So I'm actually gonna just move over just a little bit, so we got a little bit of a gap between our trim and there. That'll give us just a little bit of grace. I'm going to put my square on there so that I know that my lines are lined up with each other, and I'm going to be very, very, very careful and try and cut just this chrome through and not our vinyl or our fake wood vinyl here, and then separate what we don't need here. So let me do that off camera in case there's a little bit of, you know, intense language. All right, so I got this chrome cut off of here very, very diligently. I got it cut off of there, and it's melded on there good. You can see where it's gray here. That's still some of that chrome left that's on there, but that's not gonna matter. We're gonna have a chrome piece, or our trim piece is gonna go right down along here like this. So I'm just gonna take a permanent marker, and I'm gonna paint what's gray, blue, or brown, depending on what color I want it to be. Our trim's gonna be right up against there. You're never gonna know. It's gonna look a lot better than it did before. Now the sun moved on me, so I am gonna pick our table up and I'm gonna move it over there in the sun so we can get that heat to help us with this vinyl. As you can see, it's cooled off very quickly and it's already started to kind of pull itself tight again. So we need to get that nice and loosened up. I've got our spray glue here. I've got a couple more cans of this stuff, and then I got our old school metal swing line stapler. If you don't have one of them babies in the shop, you need one because they are a game changer. Those cheap little plastic ones they sell nowadays at like Walmart and Dollar General, they just don't cut it. All right, so we're over here in the sun. The vinyl's getting pretty malleable again, which is good. And if you look under here, we've got foam here, and you can see where they actually glued it from the factory. It was glued here, 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 like I said, where these little ribs are here, and right over here and there. So I'm not going to spray glue this whole thing necessarily. I'm going to do this edge a little bit, and then I'm going to focus on these areas where it was glued before. And I've got our glue all shook up. It says 6 to 8 inches, but this stuff will work close up. It's just the further away you are, the bigger span you get, and it works better if you do contact on both sides. So I'm going to spray it on there, let it sit for a minute or two until it starts getting really, really tacky. And I got gloves on because if not, your fingers all stick together. And then we'll stick it down on the front, flip it over, start working on the back side. It's pretty easy. I mean, pretty straightforward process. Now we're gonna let it sit for a few minutes or until it gets really, really tacky. And then I'll start working that down where we want it. The longer you let it sit, this stuff works a lot better. You want it to be like extremely tacky because that's when it works the best. And I'll pull and tuck. And try not to get any glue on the top side because this stuff is a nightmare to try and clean off without using something super aggressive that's going to damage this vinyl essentially. All right, so I got the other side glued down as best as I could and pulled this way, and it's still not dry. So while it's still setting up a little bit, I'm going to cut this just like they did kind of from the factory. Cut this at a little bit of an angle to kind of be able to tuck that around that corner. Like that. And then when we go up over here like this will kind of go back like that. That'll give us that nice overlap that we're looking for. On that end. And then I'll do the same over here on this end. Now I'm going to spray the glue on both sides of this because I want glue on this very heavy and I want glue on this cardboard very heavy. And I'm going to spray down in here first. All right, so I waited till that got super tacky, folded it over. I did the bottom and the top first, and now I'm just keeping that all pressed down. I made sure I looked at the other side. It still looks really good. There's a couple spots that, like right there, it's not sticking great, but it'll be fine. Now, if you had a couple of pieces of wood and some clamps, you could always clamp across this, like a piece of wood across here, and then clamps just to hold that and leave it for a few hours to really get that stuck on there. But I'm going to take my stapler and I'm going to go along like this out here on this edge. Even if it pokes through the other side, remember we're going to have trim on the back side of this, so but this shouldn't go through. It should just be just like factory. Oh, that one didn't go in. Very good, but we'll leave it. Kind of got to go at these pretty fast. That one popped through a little bit. That one popped through. So, need to be a little carefuler with it. But again, we're going to have trim up on this edge, so it'll be the other end that we got to be very careful. There we go. It looks really good. I'll take a pair of pliers and I'll kind of bend that one over where it's sticking through just a little bit. There we go. Nobody will ever know. It's that close to the bottom of the panel, so whoop-de shit. Okay, so let's flip this over and see what the other side looks like. All right, so this is the other side. Looks really good, and the staples did poke through just a little bit here. Really, I could just go back and staple from this side, because again, we're gonna have trim all the way up to the edge of this. So this whole edge is fine. As long as it doesn't let go, we're in good shape. Yeah, we got a couple little wrinkles right here, but again, look at the rest of the panel. It's 50 years old. It'll be fine. It looks great. And now we just need to put this back in the van and mark and cut and do the same exact thing on the other side. But it's a little more important that it looks good because there's no trim going up against the front edge of it. So, all right, so I got our panel in here. It's kind of lined up where it's gonna go. This is gonna push back right up against there like that. As you can see, our little bit of chrome is right there. And then we're gonna have this piece. It's gonna go right down that. Once we mark and drill our holes down through there, that's gonna look really good. So this is kind of exactly where this has to go because the fender well's right here. And we've already got our supports in there for that. And it looks really, really good. So now we need to figure out where to cut this off up here. So over here, the white van did have this trim piece that went down right here in front of the wheel well, but we don't have as much space as they did, so I would have to try and trim this down, and somebody else has drilled some other holes in it, and it just looks super crappy. I don't have the right color blue to match the interior of the van, so I just don't think that's going to look good to try and do. So I think our best case to make this look as nice as possible is I'm just going to push this right up against this edge, mark the panel with a permanent marker. We've got a pretty good wide edge right here. So then I'm just going to come back from my permanent marker line like a 1/4 inch or so. And that's where we're going to cut it, tuck it, and glue it. And then we'll put a couple of screws, those like decorative chrome trim screws, right down that edge. And we shouldn't have to staple this end at all and worry about staples popping through because those screws that we put down through there in a couple spots should hold everything up there really tight. And I'm going to glue it very, very well. So yeah, I'll make the permanent marker lines. If I run into anything outside at the table, I'll let you guys know. But yeah, I'm going to cut this off and I'll meet you back here and we'll start figuring out where to put this panel. The only other thing that I haven't done in here yet that needs done is this support piece that comes across here. There isn't one right here. But once we get this panel up here, we'll know exactly where we need to put it because the beauty of that is we're going to put a couple of screws in here, or maybe just one or whatever, a decorative screw there to hold this panel up. And then when we do our shag for the top, it needs to stick up enough so we have somewhere to attach our shag panel. So we do need a piece of support right behind there, but that's gonna be real easy to make once we know exactly where we need it. So anyway, less yakking and more working. All right, so I got our panel all glued up. The front looks absolutely amazing. I'll show you that here in a minute. But what we need to mark is we need to mark where the spare tire holes are needing to be in here. Now, how are we going to mark that? Well, you can put it up here and tap on it if it was like thin, but you can't really do that with this thick panel. But I have a trick. Check this out. Now, all I've done is taken some painter's tape, wrapped it back on itself, the old kindergarten tape a picture to the wall trick. We're going to set this up there, press it. It's going to show us exactly where the center of this goes, as long as it can stick to this. Hopefully that painter's tape is strong enough to stick. If not, we'll get some duct tape or something. Just like this. Bada boom, bada bing. Okay, so here I just took our panel with the hole that we knew was right, laid it directly over top of there. Now the top edge is correct because the height of this is right. We just didn't know left to right on our new panel, but we know that now because of our tape location. So I'm going to pull this tape up, I'm going to trace our hole, and then we'll figure out how to cut it out. All right, so I came back inside because it's getting pretty warm out there in the sun. But anyway, I got my oscillating tool here. I cut a slot right down the very center and just kind of went super slow and careful. And I was able to just break through the top and not damage the vinyl beneath. Although I went right in the center because we're gonna need a slot in there to fold our vinyl in anyway. So if I would have damaged the vinyl in the center, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But yeah, so I just was kind of feeling out, how's this tool work? Is this gonna be doable? And then I've kind of traced out all the way around that edge, and now I'm back here and I'm just going through very, very carefully and trying to get all the way through there. I took my razor blade, cut a slot in the very center. So when I tip the panel up like this, I can see where we're at. We're right here. This is the slot in my vinyl, and we are gonna cut into this chrome, but again, this is all gonna be hidden behind the spare tire. So the vinyl will get folded back under, and this will just probably be a chunk missing out of the chrome here, and then hopefully I can fold this over. If not, it'll just be a nice clean square. Yeah, anyway, make it as nice as I can, and you learn as you go. All right, here it is. Got it notched out. We've got vinyl left over here that we can tuck underneath those edges. It fits perfect. Probably could have made it just a little bit bigger, but hey, I'm not gonna complain. It holds that panel right where it needs to be, nice and tight, and everything lines up perfectly. I'm very, very happy with that. And like I said, when we fold it down like this, we can just tuck this vinyl over like that. We'll put some glue on there, and that'll hold that stuff in. Just like that. And the bottom edge is pretty hard, and it's glued very well, so it looks really nice. And again, it's all going to be hidden behind our spare tire under a cover. So being a little anal there, but again, I learned a lot there. I know I can confidently cut holes in all this stuff and fabricate these panels on the backside that are going to be a lot more in your face. The only thing we have left to do is that top support over there. I'm getting hungry. It's my lunchtime, so I'm going to go in the house, eat a sandwich, and then we'll come back out here and we'll keep plowing away at this thing. But man, I'm really excited with the way this side is turning out. I ordered some fancy chrome trim screws because I had a handful laying around here from other projects, but I didn't have enough to do all of this stuff, so I ordered a bag of 100. They should be here in a day or two, but I'm going to toss some temporary screws in here for now, just to kind of hold things in place as we keep moving along with this project. So, all right, this is what you've been waiting for. Check this out. Man, does that look good. That turned out really, really good. And we're going to hide it behind a spare tire. But seriously, we learned a lot. Everything turned out just like I wanted to. I cobbled together some screws, but like I said, I ordered some. So when they come in, I'll just replace these screws with the ones I want. The only real problem here is I didn't make a piece of sheet metal for this. I'm just going to use what I have for now. I'll make a new one of those later. And this is white. I didn't spray bomb it blue, but that's not a big deal. You just take these 3 screws out. There's 3 screws there. Pop that off. I'll paint it later. Pop it back on. Don't need to do that in this video. No big deal. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. Let me go show you that front edge over there. And this is what the front edge ended up looking like. I think that turned out really, really good, guys. I like how I got this chrome around this edge, so you can barely even tell that I had to cut that off and trim it. I mean, from this angle, you can't even see it. This little hole here from where they would mount it before, once we do the shag, it'll come down to here. It'll hide that. All our button heads along there, if they're too tall, I'll just put some flat self-tappers in there. Yeah. I'm going to toss the spare tire in here and the cover, and then I'm going to get to working on the other side. Now, there's a couple of hurdles that we need to jump over there. For one, we need to cut that off. We already know how to do that because we did it on this side. I need to cut that hole out and put an outlet in there so that we can plug things in with the generator. The gas fills right there, so I need to notch that out and do all that vinyl work there. And then if you look here, that panel's already got a little gap there for trim or overlap or something. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to trim this panel down so it lines up directly with that one and just overlaps that whatever. And then I'll put a support piece behind it and put us a couple of nice fancy looking trim screws, and boom, bada bing, this thing will look sharp. But that is subject to change because you just never know what you're going to run into. I'm going to put you guys on time lapse. I'll start scrolling around and you can watch this get done in about 10 seconds, and it'll probably take me 5 9 hours. Anyway, I'll see you guys in just a few. Here's where we're at. The sun's gone down, the heat is out of this vinyl, and it's a lot tougher to work with. I've got this last little bit to do here, and as you can see, I cut it off to length and we needed to patch in just a little bit. So I took a little bit of our backer, wrapped some duct tape around it, got it to fit in there, so we've got a little bit of support behind this. And then we've got this little hole here that we need to clean up as well. So I cut a little patch with some of our little insulation and vinyl that I'm going to tuck up behind here and glue it into place. And yeah, you'll still be able to see it, but it'll be better than it was, and it'll be plenty fine for what we're doing. I cut a little patch out of here, and I got it to line up so that our stitching and everything will line up and match well. It'll hide pretty good. Sure, we might be able to cover this with a piece of trim. I don't know exactly where we're going to go with that. We're not building a cement van here, right? Like, it didn't even have panels before. So a little hole here that we've patched, who cares? A little patch here, who cares? I'm going to be perfectly happy with it, and that's all that really matters. So I'm going to try and get this done here and get in the house before the sun goes down, and then we'll install this panel first thing tomorrow morning with a fresh cup of coffee. We can sit back and admire all of our hard work and labor and make a game plan from there. So, all right, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. All right, it's the next morning. Got my St. Ignace Car Show cup of coffee here. And I want to show you guys what we got. Really happy with the way this is turning out. We got the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I got the panel in here. And as you can see down here, the glue, I ran out of the Super 77 that I was using, and I switched over to CRC spray glue that I got from Harbor Freight, and it like reacted with the foam a little bit and just kind of made the vinyl a little wrinkly. It's right up against this gas fill, so I mean, you're not even gonna know. And then around the edges, I just used some super glue and squirted it down in there and then held it down with a damp cloth on the top, and then it kind of absorbed the extra glue, and that turned out really good. Is it perfect? No, but you know, it doesn't have big giant holes in it anymore. The panel looks really, really good. Now, for the bad, see that little bit of a gap there? It's like a 1/2 inch. Yeah, it's hitting right there. I guess I didn't do my calculations quite right, and I need to take about another 1/2 inch out of this panel right in here where I double, triple, quadruple glued it. So that's gonna be lots of fun. Mistakes were made. Probably should have test fit that, but hey, that's how you learn, guys, right? Now we're gonna learn a new skill. How do we redo something that we screwed up ever so slightly? That's where the armrest goes. I actually have the armrest and the bracket from the other van. Now, my assumption was that this would not be anywhere close to fitting and working in any way, shape, or form, but I was there, so I took it because I'm like, hey, you just never know. I don't really want those holes in the panel because I think they'll look kind of crappy, having everything all super nice and then have 2 holes. I actually stuck this back there, and if we take this 1/2 inch out of here and move this panel back, I think those holes are going to line up perfectly so that I can mount this bracket right where it goes and put the armrest back on. So like I said, the good, the bad, and the ugly, you know, a lot of work we put into this to get these panels together, and things are starting to really come together. We just got a few things to tweak here, so I'm going to get working on that. All right, so I got that whole bottom section peeled off, and then I got it marked here where we're going to cut it. I went a 1/2 inch, and I went like an extra 1/16 just to give myself a little bit of grace there. And then we're going to test fit it. How did I get this off of here? Well, I used my heat gun, just a little bit of heat and some patience, got that off of there, and it's still super sticky, so it should glue right back together pretty easy. Not nearly as big a deal as it looked like in the van. I got this. All right, guys, keep working. All right, I just got back from Lowe's. It's the moment we've all been waiting for, but especially me. What did this thing end up looking like? Well, here it is, guys and gals. Man, I think that turned out absolutely amazing. Way better than it's ever been, and obviously was before. Now, I went to Lowe's and I wanted a USB outlet, but they take a deep box and I put a shallow box in here. So we got stuck with the old 70s ivory. You want to charge your phone? Just plug in an adapter. It'll be fine. The armrest, it lined up like perfectly. I can't believe that. I am going to replace all those screws like I had mentioned before with some decorative screws. Like I had a couple of them, but I didn't have too many. That cardboard back there, originally I thought, man, I'll just replace that with some sheet metal later. But looking at it a little more, I might just wallpaper those. I think I could get some old 70s wallpaper and wallpaper them, and they would look just fine. Let me know what you think I should do with those in the comments below. The next project for the van on the interior is going to be full blue shag from there all the way up, and new LED lights. All these lights work. I got them from Amazon, so the wiring and stuff is all there. I just need to get the shag up there, and then I think this van is just really going to be super cool. Now, I know what you're thinking. Does that outlet even work? Well, I got this plugged in here. Normally, I just run a space heater, but I figure if it can handle this welder, it ought to be able to handle the space heater. Now we've just expanded our capabilities to off-grid restoration and fabrication. No, guys, but seriously, I was just plugging that in to see if it would get power, and it does. I know how to wire an outlet in case you were concerned, but I think this turned out absolutely awesome. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be better than it was, and I think the van is definitely better than it has ever been, and it's only going to get better from here. I'm really excited about the van. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends. I'm going to post some other videos around my melon here of things we're doing in the shop. We've got merch available on our website. We've got a Facebook group over on Facebook. Go join that and join in all the action over there. And yeah, until next time, guys, keep on wrenching.